When I was a kid, my parents decided to ask my grandfather to take care of me on Sundays afternoon. So my grandfather had a very simple idea. His idea was to take me to football games. So every Sunday afternoon, I would go to the FC Barcelona stadium, and then the weekend after, I would go to the Espanyol stadium. So that was, at that time, you could feel loyal to two teams. It's not like today where if you sell your soul to one team, in the contract it says you have to hate the other teams. So at that time, you could go to both stadiums and have no problem. But I'm talking about my grandfather, not because of football, because every time he left home, he would wear a hat, like the one I'm wearing. Now, hats are very good because they protect you against sun when it's warm, and then they keep the heat in your body when it's cold. Actually, most of your heat that you lose when it's cold, you lose it through your head. So it's a good idea to have a hat. Now, my grandfather wasn't alone wearing a hat. Actually, all of his fellow citizens, except for one in the middle, were wearing a hat. Yeah? So everybody was wearing a hat. It was just those days. Now, here in Barcelona, everybody, almost everybody, bought their hat from a shop in downtown Barcelona. The shop had very good hats at an affordable price and very good quality. So the shop was doing very well. Everybody was getting the hats there. But if you go today to downtown Barcelona and you look for the shop is gone. There's no more shop that sells hats. What happened to the shop? Well, what happened was that people stopped wearing hats. Nobody's wearing a hat today. So the shop disappeared. Now that story is still true today for a lot of companies. If you think about companies like Kodak, companies like Research in Motion, Quicksilver, Nokia, a lot of them are in trouble, have disappeared. Why? Not because they were doing something wrong, but just they didn't see change coming. Actually, if you think about MySpace, it was the leading social network at that time. They were doing so well that a big media conglomerate, News Corp, bought MySpace. Now, MySpace, as you know, was doing very well. They were executing their winning strategies, and then suddenly something happened around them that they didn't see, and that was a company called Facebook. And what happens? Today, we are all on Facebook, and nobody remembers MySpace. So execution used to be the competitive advantage for companies, and leading companies used to pride themselves on being very good at execution. Today, execution is not a competitive advantage anymore. Now, competitive advantage is to be able to see change before anybody else does. Execution was the winning game before. It is not going to be the winning game going forward. Now, why has execution been so good? Now, for several reasons. First of all, of course, is because of advances in management knowledge. We have ideas like big data, the balanced scorecard, but also there is technology, information and communication technology that gives us a lot of information of what's going on inside of our companies. Now, if you're a company headquartered in Chicago, today you know real time if in the most remote location of your network of shops, somebody is buying a shirt. And you know it real time. And you know they're buying a shirt, which shirt, at what price, which discount, what's happening in the shop while this person is buying it. You know who's buying the shirt, and probably you know more about the motives why this person is buying the shirt better than the person herself. So we have a lot of information about what's going on. But this company in Chicago probably doesn't know that across the street, there's a startup that is going to take away 30% of its revenue 3 years from now. And even more dramatic, probably one of the product managers of this company is having lunch once a week with the entrepreneur who's going to take away 30% of your revenues. So what happens is that we have designed companies that they look at their bellies, and we don't see change when change is coming. Now, if you think about the world is very complex. The world out there is very complex. It's a lot more complex than our own organizations, our own internal processes. But the irony here is that the tools that we have to look inside of our companies are much more sophisticated than the ones that we have to look outside. A few months ago, I was helping a large healthcare company with their strategic planning. So I went to the meeting, I got there, and I saw all the 130 top managers that were working hard in teams, on tables, and very busy. So I asked the host, what were they doing? And she told me, well, they're doing a SWOT analysis. You remember SWOT? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So those people were sitting in a table analyzing the environment with a technology that is from the 1960s, okay? So that's the thing that we have today. So we've created organizations that instead of looking outward, what they're doing is they're looking inward, looking at transactions that probably are totally irrelevant. So the same phenomenon that you see in strategy, you also see it in innovation. A couple of years ago, I was teaching at a university in the US, and I took advantage of being there to sit through different courses. And one of them was a course on innovation. The course was taught by a great teacher, great content, great students. And as part of the course, they had to come up with a project. So they had a 3-month course project and to try to solve a challenge that had been put forward for them. So the last day of the course, I was very excited to see all those projects. You had great content, great teacher, a lot of talent in the classroom, so that I said, well, those projects have to be just amazing. So I went there, and I saw the projects, saw the presentations, and they were kind of disappointing. They were flat. They were boring. There was no creativity. There was almost no innovation in those projects. So I thought, how is it possible that you get great content, you get great teachers, you get great talent, you work for 3 months, and you're not able to come up with something that is really creative? And the answer to me was the fact that when they got into the challenge, when they got into the project that they were working on, they didn't know enough about what was going on, what was the background of that challenge. They didn't know enough about the surroundings of that particular challenge. So they went into the project, they talked with customers, they talked with users, without knowing well what was already being done about those issues. So again, the same issue. You go into the process, but you don't pay enough attention to the outside world, to everything that has been done before you. So now we're working with a foundation of a sports club, and we think about how to come up with new fundraising events. It's a big issue for foundations. And we're going to use a very similar process. So we're going to talk with donors, we're going to talk with users, we're going to do brainstorming, we're going to do prototypes. But before we do all this, what we're doing is we're spending time just documenting fundraising events across the world. Fundraising events in sports, fundraising events in cultural organizations, NGOs, even in commercial companies. We're thinking about what type of events people are doing to be noticed and to raise funds. So whenever we start our brainstorming sessions and we start talking with donors, we have a lot of ideas to start working on them. So we have a lot more options to be creative. So what we've been doing for the last 7 years, we've been working on this idea, which we call the landscape monitor. And the whole idea of the landscape monitor is to turn the attention that has been inward, to turn it outward, to turn it to the outside world, to have our companies, to have our organizations look outside, stop having them looking at their bellies. So what are the main ideas behind this concept? The first one is the map, the landscape map. Every person, every one of you, in your heads, you have a map of your surroundings. You think who's your competitor, you think who's your ally, you think who are peripheral actors that can have an impact of you. So every single one of you, you have it for yourself and you have it for your companies. In every meeting, the R&D person comes with a map in his head. He doesn't know exactly he's never made it explicit, so it's kind of implicit in his mind. The marketing manager She comes with her own mind, the financial manager, the HR manager, everyone comes with a different map of how this company plays in the market. So the first idea is, let's put those maps and make them available to everybody. So we have a discussion that makes sense about how the events in the outside can shape the future of our company. The second idea is the idea of crowdsourcing. So companies spend a lot of time trying to hire the best talent that they can find, but then they only use that talent to execute their strategies. They don't use that talent to look at what's going on around the company. And today, people, first of all, they are very talented, and they have access to a lot of experiences, both themselves, but also online. So they have experiences when they go on and visit a customer. They have experiences when they go to trade shows, or they have experiences when they go on vacation, when they go where they're in the shower, they have ideas. So the idea is that all of those experiences, rather than keep them in your mind and try to remember them when you have a coffee with the relevant person, you just upload it into the map so everybody gets the experience that you're having. So the whole organization or the whole team knows what's going on. So they can start relating those ideas that we need for innovation. Now, the third idea is when you go and have those meetings offline, they're going to be a lot more effective because the whole team meeting in that room is going to know what's going on around the company at all times, and they have already started to relate ideas. So the meetings are going to be a lot more productive from a strategy perspective and also from an innovation perspective. So going forward, strategy and innovation are going to be as good as the ability of your companies to sense and monitor the environment. The focus on execution, the quality of all those ERP systems that we have focused the companies, have focused the attention of companies inward. Now what we need to do is we need to focus the attention outwards. We have design organizations that look like cars with very big dashboards and very small windows. What we need to do is we need to enlarge those windows so we can look outside. You have to use the talent of the organization to let you know what's going on out there. What are the opportunities and what are the risks? Because opportunities and risks are always outside and they are never inside of your organization. And who knows, maybe in a few years, somebody's going to sense that out there, people are starting to wear hats again. Hats like the one that my grandfather was wearing a few years ago. And who knows, maybe there will be a shop in downtown Barcelona where you can buy hats like they used to have. Thank you very much.